Strongsville Jane Doe. When 3 boys stumbled across a skeleton washed up on a muddy riverbank in Strongsville, Ohio in 1975, no one could figure out where the Jane Doe had come from. What authorities could deduce, however, was that this skeleton belonged to a young woman, likely aged 18 to 25, and that she'd suffered a wound to the head some months prior. Her skeleton was complete, with the odd exception of a missing mandible. Detectives attempted to identify the young woman, checking her against records of women who were known to be missing in the area, a list which happened to feature the author Patty Hearst, who had been famously kidnapped in 1974, as well as one of Ted Bundy's victims. But no matches were found, and with no further evidence, the case went cold, leaving the skeleton to be buried in an unmarked grave. This Jane Doe's case remained cold until 2015, when a Reddit user named Call Me Ice came across a cemetery listing for the unidentified female bones while conducting genealogy research, and took it upon herself to explore further. Reaching out to the cemetery, Call Me Ice was able to confirm that no action had been taken since the bones were interred. A local library yielded only a handful of articles relating to the discovery of this unlisted female skeleton. Call Me Ice eventually managed to get hold of the official autopsy report, along with a photograph of the skull. This information was posted to the subreddit r/unsolved mysteries and the website WebSleuths, where she convinced a forensic artist to create a facial reconstruction drawing. This additional evidence and facial reconstruction image were posted on NamUs, the online National Missing and Unidentified Persons System. In late 2016, this information was matched with a new listing from a detective working on the cold case of Linda Pagano, a 17-year-old girl from Akron who'd gone missing under unusual circumstances in 1974. The Pagano girl's profile seemed to match that of the skeleton's facial reconstruction. On September 1st, 1974, Linda had returned home late from a rock concert, which had led to an argument with her stepfather. She stormed out of the house, never to be seen again. Strangely, despite multiple reports claiming that she left on foot, her car also disappeared, only to be found crushed in a Salem junkyard sometime later. When authorities were informed of the similarities between the case of Linda Pagano and that of the Strongsville Jane Doe, dental records were acquired and DNA tests were run. The results came back a match, and thanks to the detective work of Call Me Ice, this brought some closure to the Pagano family. Linda's murder, however, remains unsolved. Hit and run. When 63-year-old cyclist Susan Rainwater was killed in a collision with a vehicle on Route 7 south of Seattle, the unknown driver fled the scene. It was not until several hours later that her body was discovered by a passerby, hundreds of feet away from her twisted bicycle. There were no witnesses and almost no evidence for the authorities to build a case on. The only evidence was a small piece of plastic, which had apparently broken off the hit-and-run vehicle. One state trooper posted a photograph of the small piece of plastic to Twitter, along with a picture of the mangled bike, appealing to the internet hive mind for help with this tragic case. Even with the help of internet sleuths, it would not be easy to identify an individual vehicle from such a seemingly insignificant and inconsequential piece of plastic. However, when the image was posted to the subreddit r/whatisthisthing, a user by the name of Jeff Nuts, who had a background in vehicle inspection, managed to match the photo to that of a headlight bezel from a 1980s Chevrolet pickup. With an exact make and model, the case began to garner a great deal of online attention. The vehicle ID was relayed back to detectives, who began their search for the offending truck and its driver. They scoured hours of surveillance footage and even received an anonymous tip, which led them to a 1986 Chevy K10 and a man named Jeremy Simon. On August 14, 2018, Jeremy Simon was arrested driving his Chevrolet pickup, which still bore the damage received when it had struck Susan Rainwater's bike. Simon first said that he thought he struck a mailbox, then changed his story and claimed to have fallen asleep at the wheel and fled the scene because he didn't want to see a body. He eventually pled guilty to the charges, including possession of a controlled substance, and was sentenced to 4 years in prison and rehabilitation. Jeff Nuts received messages of gratitude from the Rainwater family, thanking him for the part he had played, and acknowledging that without his contributions, justice may never have been served. Jeff humbly stated that those messages, quote, mean more to me than any internet karma. Scott Cleeshalt. On the 6th of August, 1988, as foreboding clouds rolled in, 9-year-old Scott Cleishalt got home on the last day of school, changed his clothes, and went out to play with his friends. Abruptly, at around 6 p.m., the area was hit by an aggressive storm. When Scott failed to return home, his friends and family searched the neighborhood, finding no trace of him. They enlisted the police, who used bloodhounds to track Scott's scent for over 5 miles before it was lost, perhaps due to the strong winds and rain. Scott was never seen again. Whilst some locals believed that Scott had perished in a flash flood resulting from the extreme weather conditions, the authorities and Scott's family maintained that he'd been abducted. They even had a suspect, a man named Michael J. Devlin, who was thought to be connected to other missing child cases, but against whom the police had no evidence. Almost 30 years later, the case was reopened when one Redditor made a post entitled, "To those who have accidentally killed someone, what went wrong?" A since-deleted Reddit account commented on this post, apparently taking the opportunity to clear his conscience. He recalled an incident from his childhood. The post read as follows. This still haunts me to this day. As kids, we had a hideout in this cliff dirt or cove. There was a neighborhood kid who, in hindsight, was probably mentally handicapped in some way, but to us he was just the weird, creepy kid. This was the 80s, and we weren't exactly raised politically correct. 3 of us were headed to our base and found a creepy kid sitting at the top in our guard chair. We yelled at him to get out, and he said something like, "Make me," and started lobbing dirt clods and sticks down at us. We all ran around the side to make our way up. It gets pretty fuzzy here, but all I remember is he fell. I still remember the sound. When we got back down to check on him, he was in a very awkward position, with blood coming out of his mouth. We all just freaked out and ran home, and as far as I know, no one has spoken a word of this to anyone. We didn't go back for over a month, and never said a word of it between us. The photograph that accompanied the post shows the mound from which the boy had fallen, or, as some people speculated, was pushed. It wasn't long before another Redditor suggested that this may be the case of Scott Cleishalt, and Reddit began to dig for more details. It was at this point that the Redditor who had recalled the fatal incident deleted their account. It was thought that after the boy's death, a storm may have caused a landslide, concealing the body. The 2 stories seemed to match in terms of the victim, location, and time frame. The age of the Redditor who recalled the boy's death was even determined to be 39, making him 11 at the time of Scott's death. While this Redditor's story seems to align with the Scott Cleishalt case, there's no way to verify. Scott's parents, who still inhabit the same house, hope to one day find closure. Lily Peters. In April 2022, 10-year-old Lily Peters went missing after failing to return to her home in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, following a visit to her nearby aunt's house. After filing a police report, Lily's father led his own frantic late-night search and discovered her bike laying on the side of a nature trail. She was nowhere to be found. The following morning, police discovered her body while searching the woodlands next to the trail. With no direct evidence, police initially struggled to identify suspects. That is, until they received notification of a viral Reddit comment written by someone who had been playing Pokemon Go in the area where Lily had last been seen. Commenting on an article posted to r/truecrime, a Redditor named HomesliceNation4 recalled seeing Lily with another kid, posting, quote, "My stomach turns when I think that I saw that girl in a pink/purple hoodie on her bike with another kid on my way out. I have a suspicion that it could be another kid that did it." Other Redditors forwarded the information to local police, who quickly reached out to confirm that they would be following up on the tip. Later that day, a suspect was arrested. Police soon announced that the suspect was in fact the 14-year-old cousin of Lily Peters. He eventually confessed to the crime when interviewed by the police. A court would later hear how this boy, known only to the public as CPB, had decided to kill Lily as they rode down a wooden trail together. The identification and arrest of this suspect was in no small part thanks to contributions made by HomesliceNation4 and other concerned Redditors. Lenachapin. Netflix has breathed new life into many beloved TV shows, and in 2020, it resurrected the popular 80s show Unsolved Mysteries, the 6th episode of which concerned the case of Lenachapin. In 2003, Lenachapin privately confessed to having assisted her mother, Sandy Klemp, in hiding the body of Clemp's husband, Gary McCulloch, in 1999 when Lena was only 13 years old. Originally declared missing, Lena's confession provided details on what may have actually happened to Gary. According to Lena, Clemp shot her husband while he ate scrambled eggs on the couch, later pulling up the carpets, bleaching the floor, and removing the body. The confession was recorded by Gary's brother, Albert, but Lena recanted when contacted by authorities. No further action was taken until she received a subpoena in 2006 to testify in a lawsuit filed by McCullough's relatives against her mother. However, Lena could not be found. Lena's sister, Robin, tried to track her down, contacting her boyfriend, who said Lena had moved to Florida with another man and that their baby son was now living with Clemp. Robin was immediately suspicious, believing it unlikely that Lena would leave her baby behind with her mother. Lena has yet to be found, leading to speculation that Sandy Clemp may have disappeared her own daughter to eliminate the only witness to what really happened to Gary McCulloch. Following the airing of this particular episode of Unsolved Mysteries, Reddit users began to dig for more clues in unseen footage and evidence shared with the r/Unsolved Mysteries subreddit. A deep delve through this evidence highlighted a number of inconsistencies in the original stories of those involved, spurring a renewed interest in the case from detectives. One Reddit user, who claimed to be related to Lena, even alleged that Clemp had turned up unexpectedly at her daughter's home on the day of the disappearance. Investigations are ongoing. The strange case of Lenachapin remains open and unresolved, but is one that forms part of a new trend. Increasingly, detectives and authorities are taking to forums such as Reddit and enlisting the assistance of true crime fans to help them reopen and even solve cases that have remained cold for years. Thank you for watching Dark 5. Are you a fan of true crime? Let me know in the comments below if you think I should cover more cold cases, or perhaps even start a true crime channel. And as always, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel for more of the greatest mysteries of this world and beyond.